Welcome to the debut of my latest single, GODGOD, off the upcoming album, What's Your Superpower? And you guys are now previewing the official music video of GODGOD. You guys just heard it first. That was the debut of my latest single, GODGOD, featuring Torin Martinez and Ayonick. We are about to jump on Zoom right now. Ayonick is in the room, and we're gonna talk about the making of this track. We're gonna get to know Ayonick. I never introduced him to this community, and we're gonna talk to him right now. Ayonick, what's good?
Not bad, man. How y'all?
Man, welcome to the stream. I just debuted GODGOD for the first time just now on the stream. So everyone got to hear it. And I told everyone that you and Torin are on the track. So first of all, where can people find you?
My name is Ayonick. My original name is Ayonick. So the Ayo, come from something they used to call me back in Queens. I grew up in Queens. I grew up playing in churches. So that's where my musical background come from. If anybody ever hear anything I do, you hear a lot of chords. I like to be very musical and everything. My grandmother told me how to play piano, and I started producing about 8 years ago. My friend loaded me up with a bunch of drum kits. Then when I first decided I'm gonna spend my own money on some drum kits, I found Mr. DECAP, found his sound. And ever since then, I've just been on a creative wave. Last year, I sent you a sample pack I created that I was gonna release. Never released it, but I sent it to somebody I thought could do something crazy with it. Boy DECAP. So we linked up, and here we are.
Absolutely, man. It's crazy how we met, too. Didn't we meet on Instagram or something like that? I think I saw one of your tracks and we connected. I happened to be out in New York. You happened to hit me up right when I was downtown.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're like, yo, you want to slide through? I said, yep. And that's how we connected, man. That's how we met. Ayonick is a cool dude, dope producer, crazy key player. He's actually all over this project. Yo, and Torin just entered the room. We're going to let Torin in right now.
Big T.
What's good, Torin? How you doing?
What's up?
Torin, if they missed you on the last stream, tell them about who you are, where you from, what do you do? Just let the people know.
Cool. What's up, guys? My name's Torin Martinez. I'm a musician here in Los Angeles, but I'm from the Bay Area. That's where I met Mr. DECAP himself. Teaching beats in the hood, basically.
That's right. That's right. Crazy.
So, yeah, now I'm just surviving as a musician, a vocalist, a producer down here in Los Angeles, and just helping out with projects when I can, like yours, you know, on the fly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have this thing called the OP1, and basically one day I just loaded up a bunch of my drum kits on it, and I just started playing around with one of the synths. The basic structure of GODGOD happened from that moment. And if you guys know about the OP1 is a mono device. So everything is only one channel. So I had to find a way to make it stereo, to make it big. So I brought it into Ableton, I brought the stems in, and you know, just kind of help bring the track to life. I didn't know that this was gonna be on the album, but I showed it to Ayonick, and he just went in on some crazy keys. The beginning of the track is just real basic, real simple, just the basic beat, because I like things very simple and very sparse. Ayonick started playing some strings, some like pads, some chords, all that shit. And it just had like this crazy crescendo. So from that point, I felt like the track was done, and so I uploaded it. I had sent Torin the whole album to listen to because he's all over the project. I remember I was getting gas in San Francisco, and Torin called me, and he was like, yo, man, I just played on this track and this track, and I was like, yo, I already uploaded that track. That track is already good to go and everything. And I'm like, damn, I don't know if I can, you know, take it down. And I listened to it. Torin sent me back this Pro Tools session. It was like a whole other beat. There was like all this crazy guitar, piano. I'm like, it's dope, but there's just so much happening. And as I listened to it, I was like, you know what? There's a certain energy to this. And I talked to Torin, and he said he was with someone in the room while he played it, and she started crying because it had such a powerful energy to it. It moved her to tears. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do something. So I ended up rearranging what Torin sent me over the beat as its own composition and put it at the outro of the track. Between what Ayonick did on the keys and what Torin did on the guitars and keys and everything, it became something different and it became something special.
Now, yeah, Torin, yeah, he killed that. That ending is magical. It's huge.
Yeah, it was my fault because honestly, it was like a timing issue. Because I feel like a lot of the times when you're working on other people's stuff, you want to be in the right mindset to be able to go in on their stuff properly.
For sure.
And so it had been a couple days where he had given me all the records, and I'm like, oh, I want to go back and see if maybe there's something else I could put on one of the records. And he sent me this one, and I just started kind of going. I was like, okay, I got like a whole open morning. Let me just put a couple hours in it. Before I knew it, I was like, damn, what happens if I like mute what he gave me, just the 2-track? I'm like, oh, shit. I felt bad because sometimes, you know, I give people so much stuff because I'm like, I don't really know what someone wants to hear. So I give all the possibilities. So
yeah, same here.
I felt bad because I'm like, man, he's going to be like, oh, I'm so overloaded right now with like all the stuff he gave me. But no, it worked out.
It ended up being perfect because it didn't take long. You know something is fire when it comes together magically, when you don't have to overthink it. And my process with both of you guys, it's like what you sent me, there was no overthinking. It was right there. It was done. It was in the pocket. I think that I pulled it from DistroKid when Torin sent me those files, and I think I re-uploaded it like 2 days later. So it ended up working out. It's crazy. So any of you guys who don't know, Torin and Ayonick are two badass musicians. Ayonick is from New York. Torin is, like you said, originally from the Bay, now in LA, and they are all over the project. Really helped elevate the project to the next level. So I'm excited to drop this, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
What are both of y'all working on? Ayonick, what are you working on right now? Like, what are you inspired by? What have you been creating, and what's next for you?
Recently, I've been working on, because I'm now getting back in the groove of music. This project, working with you, has like really inspired me to go head first into, you know, my music and my craft. Last year, or the year before, I can't remember, I dropped a project called Groove Control, funky type of, you know, upbeat type of tape. Doing another one of those, probably gonna be dropping it in like singles. I've been really inspired by like, I don't know where I get it from because I haven't been really listening to music, but funk and just the groovy sound, you know, K Tronada, stuff like him, Maxwell, MXXWLL from Instagram.
That's a homie,
Yeah.
great dude.
Yeah,
He might be in the chat
yeah.
right now. He's always in the stream.
When he dropped this pack, I went crazy. Everything Count is doing really inspires me.
Shout out to the Count,
The whole-
homie.
The whole Instagram producer game right now is, we in a golden age of like just talent. It's just all around us all the time. So I've been really inspired by everybody doing anything. So
Absolutely. And Torin, what about you? What are you working on right now and what's next for you?
I'm kind of in a little bit of a nice transitional moment just because I've been able to produce a lot of content, kind of finishing the project with you. And then with the series that I have called Torin and the Homies, go check out Torin and the Homies.
Check out Torin and the Homies right now.
Torin and the Homies.
Fire, fire,
Yeah.
fire.
It's a concert series here in Los Angeles. I've just finished up a bunch of episodes with that. You know, something you talk about, I think, a lot is like doing a good job at writing your highs and writing your lows properly. And just sometimes you don't realize that things are going to be crazy busy and you prayed for that. And then it's going to be nice and quiet. So I've had some days where things have been kind of busy and things have been nice and quiet, but enough quiet days to remind me, oh, keep your traction going and take the downtime when you can get it. So I'm actually just getting back into doing a lot more sessions, hopefully a couple more swaps with you and some personal music. I got some big records that I'm on that I can't talk about.
Let's go.
I don't think much anymore until the paperwork is signed.
Mr. White
Absolutely.
Jeep himself.
That's
Hey.
right. That's right. White Jeep. Definitely check out their profiles. Torin has a Spotify page. He has Porcelain Hips, White Jeep, just fire tracks. Really dope shit. He's also a solo artist as well. Something that Torin just said is riding the highs and the lows. We actually were on the phone like maybe a week or two ago and we were talking about this. And I think the community would be really interested in just hearing about you guys' experience with this. One thing in music and in life in general, there's gonna be times when you're up and there's gonna be times when you're down. And it just is what it is. And I think part of the secret sauce of success, or whatever you wanna call it, just being in the flow, is understanding when you're up and understanding when you're down, and not freaking out when you're down and not getting too full of yourself when you're high. It's all about the center. When you're up, you know what it means? It means that things are going great, but there's a down coming. And when you're down, that means things are slow or whatever, but there's an up coming. I believe that life is all about being able to ride that wave. Ride the wave. That's coming up. So, Ayonick, have you experienced this in your life, ups and downs, and how do you deal with the ups and downs as a producer and just in life in general?
When it comes to up and down, you know, and that dynamic, it's always, you know, important to remember where you were and, you know, and where you want to be, because you need something to keep you grounded. You know, you need your seatbelt on when you're going through the ups and downs. You know, once you got something that's, you know, keeping you grounded, whether it's, I don't know, family, friends, anything, could be anything just outside of whatever the up and down is, something to keep you level-headed, you know, something to keep you motivated, inspired, something that's, you know, an escape from the up and down that you can do and come back. That's what I think is important. Even though I love music, you know, sometimes you gotta step away from, you know, whatever the up and down is. Maybe it's the traffic, maybe it's, you know, the beat block, maybe it's the collabs you expected to work out ain't working out. As long as you have something, and for me, it's just my alone time or time with my friends, having fun, you know, so stuff like that, that's more meaningful, will always help you out when you're experiencing the highs and lows. Something always to go back to a reference point where you could be like, all right, I'm here. This is what it is. I'm having a little trouble, but I'm good right here till I'm ready to hop back into it.
What you're saying that I like is stay grounded, whether that be your family or your friends, having some kind of reference point that's like your center, kind of to keep you with stability when you're going through whatever that process is. I think that's important, just understanding staying grounded, because when you're grounded, that means 2 feet planted on the ground, you're in your body. It's not about how am I gonna pay this next thing? It's not about is this gonna be okay or not okay? It's just I'm here and now, and I have the ability with my feet on the ground to assess the situation and respond accordingly. Torin, what about you, man? What is your experience with that, and how do you stay clear, you know, during those times when you're up or when you're down?
Pretty much having that ability to like step back away from something when you need to. You know, it's funny that you were talking about bills to pay for. I think one of the things that we forget about when we're doing so much creative work too is that there's a lot of like life administration that needs to happen. And for some of the way for you to get your best music kind of only occurs, I feel like, when, at least for me, like my wallet is good. And a lot of my friends struggle with this idea, especially here in Los Angeles, where it's like you're told you need to be sleeping on floors if you have to, and pulling the all-nighters and eating this and eating this. And sometimes I'm like, man, some of this advice is so not what I would tell people, because like one of my boys wants to be a big producer right now. And I can tell in his music that his musicality is suffering because he's thinking about his job and his work and keeping his roof over his head. So I think that's a big part of like riding the highs and riding the lows, is being able to make sure that when you're able to be creative, that you can be there. Like you said, you can be grounded in it, 2 feet on the ground, and you can be properly creative, and you're not like, how am I going to pay for this next thing? Clearly your mind is somewhere else. And so I think like taking care of those things so that you can be in the creative spot when you need to be, and then you've taken care of those other things so that when you're not able to be creative, you know, that other stuff is in check. Or elsewise, you know, it's like, man, how are you supposed to put out something that you love doing when you're struggling mentally, capacity wise, for somewhere else? So
I remember after I had taken a break and I was pursuing like spirituality and things like that, one thing that happened when I was getting back into it was, you know, I was trying to make moves and make money at this shit. I had avenues to make money, but it was difficult. And I heard something from this dude. He did this thing called self-made wealth. And one thing he talked about, which resonated with me a lot, was before you enter into any business transaction, any financial transaction, you have to deal with the emotions of lack. Because when you have the emotions of lack present, you're going to sabotage that situation.
right.
So going in and making sure you're in alignment and you're in your clarity before you deal with any business situations. Because when you're broke, it's hard. It's fucking hard. It's easier said than done. And there's a lot of self-sabotage that happens. So if you can find that alignment and that clarity, and you can get in a place of peace and clarity and focus before you make any business call, go into any business arrangement, then the outcome is going to be better because you're going to be in your clarity and you're going to be communicating in such a higher frequency. And that was hard because, you know, it's not easy to get in a high frequency when things are down. I don't know if that's helpful to anyone in here, but that's something I learned that always stuck with me. When you're down, make sure you take responsibility for your energy before you make another move, because that's how you can ensure the best results. Does that resonate with either you guys or anyone in the chat?
Self-sabotage, it's funny. You think about sabotaging as doing something to make something else occur. Like, oh, I did this thing and it ended up ruining my life, whatever that thing was. But you don't realize that for us, you know, self-sabotaging can be putting yourself in a mindset so that you waste days. You know, it's where you're like, man, I'm so in the wrong mindset. I can't even go in the studio today, even though you have the time. You got the time and the last place you want to be in the studio because your mindset is messed up. And I think that's like a really good form of self-sabotaging we don't really think about, is not utilizing the time and the space to be somewhere when we can be. And you're like, oh man, I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z, you know? So I agree with that.
Even like the other way, like you said, sleeping on floors and grind until you crack and break and fall down. All those things are also self-sabotage because you might be on a high, but you're not anticipating the crash, because there's always going to be a crash, and you ride too high for too long, you crash and burn, and then you can't get up.
Hey, you crash hard. Crash hard.
At the end of the day, it's all about balance. That's why I talk about meditation, mindfulness. Not that that's the only way, because meditation might not work for everybody, but it's about finding that center somehow, some way, whether it be lighting candles or meditating or going for a walk or taking a break, or, you know, not taking a break and making sure you get work done.
Once you're grateful and you can, you know, remind yourself that, look, I may not have everything I need or want right now, whether it's creativity or just means, you in a better place than you was. A lot of people that wish they could be where you was. So when you grateful in life for what you have, like, you know, me and DECAP talked about that the other day. When you grateful for anything, whether it's one fan, one stream, one sound, maybe you're trying to work on a bunch of beats and only one worked out. When you grateful for whatever's in front of you is much easier to, tell yourself, tell your brain that I'm good. I can press forward. I can create. I can be open. All that kind of stuff that you need to create or, to be social with other people and collab and all of that stuff. A lot of it I'm starting to see in life. When you just have a good outlook and you're just grateful on stuff, things start to happen for you. It opens your mind up a lot.
Essentially, looking at life as like having a competition with your own potential. I think you're just sizing yourself up against yourself all the time. I think that's a good way to show gratitude. But I think practicing it is really hard, especially in places where there's a lot of people trying to make it, like in our industry, so to speak. And so if you just get up and you're like, man, if I can just be a 1% better version of myself today for myself and nobody else, that's a good way to do that. I agree. Show gratitude just to make this whole life easier on yourself.
Absolutely. Some days you could wake up in not a good space, not a good mood, but if you start to look for the things to be grateful for, it will shift your mindset, because the only thing you can control in life is your perception. There's nothing else we can control. So what you guys both are talking about, gratitude, that is the one thing we can control in life. We can't control what other people do. We can't control situations, how things happen. We have some influence, but gratitude, I think that is the one thing we can control. So it's how you look at things, and gratitude will color how you look at things so you can be more in alignment with the things that you actually want, which what we want is we want higher frequency things. Whether we know it or not, we want things that resonate at a higher frequency. Gratitude is that. And the music we do, that's what music is. It is a conductor of frequency. That's what we do. Ayonick, where can everyone find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get to know your content and who you are and your social media and everything?
Instagram is ayonick.wave.wav, AYONICK. Starting to post more, of course, now that I'm working with the infamous Cap. It's inspired me to, to put out some more sounds, because I work on a lot of stuff that I don't usually put out. Ayonick is the name. I got a website, ayonick.com. I got stuff on Apple Music too. I got a couple projects, some instrumentals you can vibe out to. Yeah, and that's about it.
And Torin, where can everyone find you, man?
At Casa del Martinez, my Instagram handle, or just look up Torin Martinez most places. And then Torin and the Homies is the other thing that I'm working on right now. If anyone's trying to collab, if anyone needs some keys and some other stuff, hit up Nick, Mr. Ayonick, and I. We'll sauce it up just like we did your records.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. Follow Ayonick, follow Torin Martinez. It's Casa del Martinez, Ayonick, Casa del Martinez. Yo, these guys are all over the project. Absolutely killed it. This project is special, and I cannot wait to release this April 30th. It comes out in, I believe, 2 weeks from today.
Nice. Congrats to you, dude. I mean,
Yeah, for real.
it's been a minute since you've had like a little compilation out, right?
It's been a while. My last album was Omnilove, which came out in 2013. Other than some collab projects I've done, this is my first album in a long time. And there's so many dope people who are a part of it. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Shout out to Kyla. Yes, she was on the last stream. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to Seb Zillner, who's on the project. Eldre the Giant, you guys saw Eldre last stream. Shout out to Wobble, who is also in this community. Yo, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
y'all.
Appreciate you for sure.